everything we do, and it's very pretty, and it's based on being attentive as much as you can. So I've put up here, like, there's 86,400 seconds in a day. So who knows if you can be attentive for all those days. But I picked this out because I was thinking that, or I came across, if your bank was credited every morning when you got up with $86,400 and you were given the day to spend them, what would you do? Huh? Wreak havoc. Yeah, wreak havoc, perhaps. And then at the end of the day, if it was removed from your account, so you had to spend it in one day. Anyway, this is what we have in terms of time. Every morning we have 86,400 seconds to spend our day in. And what we have the most control over, as all of you will agree, is our thinking. So what we are thinking in all those seconds, goodness only knows. Just last week we had Inner Peace, Inner Power, which Danny talked to us about. And you might begin to think that the Brahma Kumaris are obsessed with peace. Well, it is like that, because peaceful mind is actually the first thing you need to be able to use any of the other qualities of life, like happiness, like bliss, like love, like understanding, compassion. If you can't get your mind quiet, then it's very difficult to emerge the other things, and they're not real, actually. They become artificial. You can emerge them in an artificial way, but to emerge them from your heart, which would mean in a genuine, authentic way, you need to be able to make your mind peaceful to start. And that's why people come here for meditation, to learn how to meditate. It's the aim that most people have. And so you can see someone there who's succeeded, obviously, been a very good student. So you do need peace to get all your other satisfying experiences in life. So this is great fun. Whatever we're doing, whatever we're thinking, whatever we're speaking, whatever we're acting, we are getting always an internal feedback. And the feedback is measured by happiness or sorrow, satisfaction or dissatisfaction, success or lack of success, disappointment, disheartenment, whatever. But this is the feedback you will get from what you've been thinking, speaking, and acting for all of those seconds of your day, each week, forever, actually. It's a long time. So it's natural that when we're relaxed, we're more likely to be positive. I've made it an affirmation there. We are naturally positive, but you can probably dredge up some negative feelings even when you're relaxed. But when you are relaxed, you're more likely to be positive. So if I said to you now, like we can do a little relaxing exercise, which would be just to concentrate on your breathing, just like we did when we had the commentary earlier. So if I said to you, okay, let's take some deep breaths, and just be aware of your breathing. If you breathe in, shall I guide you? So breathe in deeply, huh? Gives your lungs full of air. And then breathe out through your nose. You can make a noise. It's all right. Make a noise. So if you do this 2 or 3 times, can you? In the next second, do it 2 or 3 times. I think you'll feel relaxed. I hope you will, because I'd like the experiment to be a success. Okay. Because when you're feeling like that, or when you're enjoying things, when you're at a party having a good time, you're mostly positive, automatically. So this is a clue, isn't it? Okay, why do we want to be peaceful? Why do we want to be positive? Why would we want to be relaxed? Of course, nobody ever really gets dressed up on a Saturday night to go out and have a rotten time, do they? Mostly you're thinking that you want to enjoy life. You want to have a good quality of life. You want to have some fun. So some of the things I thought about, you can more quickly and easily think on your feet when you're relaxed, right? You're less likely to have a knee-jerk reaction, or later on we might say you're less likely to react to something and you're more likely to respond to it. You can more easily listen when you're relaxed. You're not wanting to add your 2 bobs worth all the time. You can communicate more easily with people who don't think the same as you do. Now, this is a very good thing. So if you get in a relaxed state, you can speak with someone who hasn't got a clue as to what you're thinking from and doesn't speak from the same values that you have. You can accept. So then you'll spread a nice vibration. That's always makes you a bit popular amongst the gathering, if you're nice to be around. And well, you'll maintain a stable spiritual attitude, and that's one of the aims we have when you come here to learn the meditation course, so it would work. So, positive thinking. I'm sure all your minds are open now, and you can do it. You can do it. Okay, first spiritual principle, you may recognize as presented here under another name. So I've taken a bit of poetic license. I'm presenting them to you as principles of spiritual thinking, principles of thinking. So first thing is to pack up. So what's the advantage of packing up? And, you know, that's to draw your attention. Packing up really means to put all the old things you've got into a bag and move them. So when you can accept that past is past, it stops a whole lot of waste thinking. It stops you having the fears that are there from the past. It stops you presenting something in the present that is based on experience from the past. So if you can get this concept, get your head around, past is past. You can't rewrite it. You can't replay it. It has passed. But you can learn from it. So, you know, there's no success or failure. You get whatever you programmed for. That's it's sobering, but it's true. Okay, so keep moving, and this is where, when it goes wrong, or when you lose your Om Shanti, or your peaceful state of mind. When you lose it, some guidance and some advice. Stay in your self-respect. First thing, stay in who you are. Peaceful. Soul at peace. A soul at peace. This is who you are. And check yourself first before you check the other person or the situation or the circumstances. Just check what's happening to you. And then be aware. Okay? Because then deal with the situation. Deal with it. So the repair your damage means if you have to apologize, apologize. Doesn't cost that much. Of course, it has to be authentic for it to be meaningfully received. But that's it. Do some repair. The past is past is not meant that we shove it under the carpet. It's meant that we work with it. But it's a spiritual attitude to situations. We understand that it is gone. But what can I do now to repair it? I can never change it, but I can maybe do some repair. Make the best of everything. Love your life. Enjoy everything, every moment of it. It's a huge drama we're in. It's like we're in a huge movie picture, you know, and it's great. It's great. Make it great. Look for the benefit. Don't lose your purpose. Keep moving forward. Don't get stuck in the situation. And you'll find if you start to repeat what happened over and over and over again, think of yourself, whoops, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in the situation. So just move yourself out of it. Okay? And remain light and easy in spite of it. What else can you do? If you get miserable, it actually drains your energy, effectively drains your energy. So why not be light, move on, get going. And if someone's giving you a hard time, that's part of the situation, then you have to accept it. Okay, this is the next principle. That was the first principle. And this is the second principle, accommodate. So the first principle, right? Pack up's your first principle. Second principle is accommodate. This is, I think, a very big thing about accommodating. It doesn't mean you have to turn the other cheek and be a goody-goody two-shoes, but it does mean that you have to accept differences in people and situations. Really acknowledge that people are different from me. Avoid getting involved in it, buying into it emotionally. It's also about tolerating. So tolerating is not that you have to put up with. This is spiritually, sensibly understanding what toleration means. People are different. Don't buy into it. It's their stuff. That situation's stuff. Don't keep adding my 2 bobs worth. This is a big one. I practiced it for a year. Mind you, it takes that long. It is such a temptation of ours to keep adding our comments to anything that's going on. Someone's telling us a story, you can add your couple of bobs worth. It's not really that helpful to them. It's a practice because we have a habit of it. We have a habit of adding our bit, having the last say. I've got one of the students who comes here has a little dog, and whenever the little dog was running around outside, she would call it back in. It would always have the last say. It would always bark. The last word was that dog's bark. So, you don't have to have the last word. You can still get things done. So that's part of tolerating, actually listening to and not adding my 2 bobs worth. Can you go with someone else's flow? That's about tolerating. And you might learn something in that way. You do it with that spiritual attitude of self-respect, not with a kind of a doormatty attitude, definitely not. But you go with the flow in order to see what's going to happen. It happens, isn't it? Yeah, allow the situation to develop naturally. Yeah? Yeah, become a good listener. And it does happen like that. When you have to listen, people have got a loudspeaker on. They are speaking spiritually or, I suppose, not physically loudly, but they are speaking loudly when they're telling you something. So listen. All right? Accommodate's okay. You feeling okay? Nobody wants to go home? Just a few minutes more. Tolerate. So this is something also that we think that is a goody-goody two-shoes attitude. We hate tolerating, and we tolerate for so long, and then we say, I can't tolerate it any longer. So the textbook says you haven't tolerated it. So that's what you'll get. But here again, accept the situation. You're going to move with it. Can't move with it if you don't accept it. If there's so much resistance in you, you won't be able to move forward. Accept the situation and the situation. Remain positive about it. Let's see what we can do. I've always had a fairly optimistic attitude in most of my life. And when things got really difficult, I used to look around for the situation. I think, it's probably over there where Larry is. Probably the solution over there, or it's over there by the door. And at least that took me out of the severeness of the situation. Of course, I can hear you thinking it doesn't work all the time. But if it works some of the time, it's worth adopting. Keep good feelings of the self first thing. Keep your good feelings of the self. Keep your self-respect. And then have a look at what you're doing. What's the reaction that you have? What is going on inside you? And deal with that. Don't have to express it, because then you won't be tolerating, but deal with it. What's going on? You can set boundaries. You don't have to accept everything that everybody does to you, or everything that everybody wants you to do, or everything that everybody asks of you. You set your boundaries. Have you got the strength and the power to set your boundaries? So something to explore. Okay? Well, that's the one. Respond, don't react. So watch the knee-jerk reaction. Just be aware of yourself. Of course, for all of this, you need spiritual strength, and I'll come back to that at the end. And the spiritual strength you obtain with a practice of meditation, which gives you a space. It gives you space. So here, space before you react, so you can respond. So it's like you hang your 6 guns up. You don't sort of draw from the hip and shoot without thinking. Okay. And there's a huge drama in the world going on. There's a huge drama in your life, in your family, at home, everywhere there's huge dramas. So this drama that's come across your lap at this moment isn't the only drama going on. So think, in the context of what's happening in the world, this is something I can deal with. Okay, and always, everything, whatever's going on, things pass. They actually pass. It's all right? Going so far? Okay, judge. First thing important to think about judge is weigh up your choices. You have choices, so weigh them up, what you will choose to do. And this SOS, if any of you have done the classical positive thinking course here, you'll know that that's a shortened version of stop, observe, and steer. I mean, steer is a pretty funny word, but we had to have something with an S. So stop, observe, and steer. So stop and observe yourself. It's, spiritually, attention is on how am I reacting to the situation. This is our big spiritual message, what we learn to observe. So how am I reacting, and how can I steer myself in a safe course here instead of hitting the rapids? Be curious. You can be curious about others, just don't be judgmental. So you can find out how someone ticks, or who they are, or where they work, and so on and so forth. Keep your judgment to yourself if you can, without going into thinking about it. Be aware of negatives for what they are. You see negatives, identify that's a negative. Oh wow, that's a negative. Then you can do something about it. You're aware of it. You saw it. Also, be aware that people perceive things differently. A very dramatic example of how people perceive things differently when I was doing perception, studies on perception, we learned about indigenous people, and you have too. Indigenous people who would know where their herds, cows, sheep, goats, whatever they would know where they were at the end of the day, and they were not in sight. They were on the other side of a hill, they were over the mountain, they'd gone down to the river, they'd let them go, but at night they could perceive where they were. Now we wouldn't even think of doing that. We wouldn't see the point of it actually. We'd rope them in, wouldn't we? We'd put them in a fence so we didn't have to bother knowing where they were at night. But people perceive things entirely different. They've had a whole different growing up experience on how to perceive things. Families, cultural, relationship. So just be aware. If you start judging people, they might be perceiving something entirely different from how you would perceive it. Oh, you all know about the energy we waste through worrying. And then there's this little thing. So you know about the energy that we waste through worrying about something, because it's common sense that worrying doesn't change the situation, right? And worry doesn't fix it. But did you know that what is the effect of negativity on your body? So this is when we have to do a little showing. I'm going to show here. Little exercise. And so it requires a little bit of maneuvering. I'm going to bring up a YouTube. Now you may know this, but you really think about this. So Deepak Chopra said that be careful of what you're thinking, because every cell in your body is listening. Did you know that? You're never alone. All the cells in your body are listening to what's going on in your mind and responding. And they're fairly arbitrary. I mean, they just follow literally what you're talking about. So this is a exercise by Dr. Slonim. It's about, is it? Physiology. Yeah, physiology, that's right. So I can do this demonstration physically in front of you if you like, but I thought it'd be much nicer to see it here, and it's authentic because it's a doctor. Do I have to... What happened? There it is. So we did this, we experimented with this earlier on, but that was before you came. So obviously the concentration of the room has had a powerful effect on this computer, and now it's not going to do it. Do you know, projection's a very interesting one. I project onto someone else my own insecurities. I project onto them. This is a whole well-researched area of psychology, projection. And think of it, it's not always negative, it's positive as well. You might project onto someone else how fantastically good they are at something. And so you are actually recognizing something in yourself. Can you get your head around that? Have I explained that properly? It's such an interesting point. We always think of things as negatives, but also positives we project onto others. They're so good at this thing. You think, oh, if I can see they're so good at this thing, that must mean I know something about that, because I can only speak from my experience. I don't make things up. I can only talk to you about what is in my own thinking and my experience. If I've read it, okay, but I must have it myself. Are we right? So we might need, I might have to do the real deal. We can, you know, Rohini's looking horrified in case I ask her, and she might be able to help. No, I can see myself there now. It's coming. Yeah, projection, think about it. How do you think about also when you think negatively about someone, think, oh, that means I recognize that, huh? So I must have it. Do you want to turn the lights down, or we don't need to? So this is the power of positive thoughts versus negative thoughts on your body. Turn the speaker, the mic up. Turn the sound of this mic up.
Okay. Tell me, invent something, bad about yourself, negative about yourself.
I like to sleep too much.
I like to sleep too much.
Resist. Tell me something positive about yourself.
I like dogs.
Dogs definitely likes you very much.
She has to hold her hand
now,
firmly.
Think something negative. Just
whatever happens.
Think it. And resist. Give me your best resistance. Okay. And now think something positive. Again, another muscle, so just for demonstration purposes, think something negative. Resist.
Resist.
Think something positive. Resist.
You believe it? Yeah. Okay. We can do that. I can do that. Danny and I can play that game if you want. If you don't, did you it was explained all right to you? She was asked to resist, hold her fist as tight as she could, and then whatever she thought, that the doctor experimenter tried to pull her fingers apart. When she thought of something negative, it was reasonably easy to pull the fingers apart. When she thought of something positive, she couldn't. Huh? It's kinesiology. Yeah. So do we have some kinesiologists in the room? We can probably experiment with a few other things. We haven't got any here. What a pity. So there we go. So it was the next one after that. We had it a minute ago. Was that all right? You did get that? So whatever you're thinking, your cells are listening to. There was on the news just recently, I'll just entertain you while this is going on. It's on the news recently about this chappie in America who went to the doctor who told him he had, I think, 3 or 4 months to live because of a serious illness he had. And so he went home and he said to his wife, I've been told this, we're going to live it up. Now, the cynical amongst you might think living it up meant going down that track, but it wasn't. They went on tours, they went on cruises, they had a great time. At about 88 years old, he decided, he was 60 at this time when he was told he was going to die in 4 months' time. So he got to his 80s and he thought he would go and see the doctors and tell them what had happened. But the doctors had gone. The doctors had died in the meantime. So he reached 90. That was when he was telling this story. So all I'm saying is that your state of mind of happiness and pleasure and enjoyment and whatever is much more healthy for you, but it's not like running around being a goody-goody two-shoes. It doesn't work like that. It has to be authentic. How does it become authentic? Come along and learn a meditation course. You'll find out. Now, so discriminate. So we're going on. We're okay for time. Okay, value your self-work. Really, really value the work you're doing on yourself, whatever it is. Give it that high importance. Because you are what you have got. And check yourself. That's, I said earlier too, Whenever you see a situation, when you ever see something happening, whenever you want to criticize something, the way the center runs or whatever someone's doing or whatever, have a look at yourself first. What's prompting you to say that? And you may find some need, or you may find a closed door, and it may take a while before the door opens to show you what is missing in yourself that makes you have that critical vision, we call it. Okay. Learn to distinguish between helpful and not so helpful thinking. Experience will tell you this. I don't want to go down that track, so you know. So it's not right or wrong. It's just what's going to be helpful for you. Jabs. You know what a jab is? Watch out for jabs. Jabs are the sort of thing that you add after a positive statement. So someone has helped you with something. You know, the classical example is poor mum and little boy or young son helps with the dishes. So it's wonderful, huh? So she says, Johnny, so great that you helped with the dishes tonight. Now that's great, is that positive? Ooh, good. I wish you did that every night. That's a jab, okay? It's a jab. So just listen to yourself if you add them. It's very habitual. It's very habitual, I tell you. Add them to any comment that you're making that started out positive, ends out, it's a jab. Be wise about deceptive thoughts. Know yourself. You have a grubby thought or something that comes into your mind. Be aware. Just, whoops, I don't have to go down that track either. So just be aware of thoughts that deceive you. And they can be from past experience, so you think they're helpful and they're intuitive. Just be careful, because sometimes, they're deceptive. They deceive us. So you've got a negative thought, deal with it, but you don't have to express it. You know you're thinking something negative. Don't have to think, I shouldn't think that, and then go about being guilty and beat yourself up. But you don't have to say anything about it. If you can stop yourself saying it, it's a help. It's a start along this huge track of discriminating. That's a diamond, and that's a diamond merchant looking to see if it's a piece of glass or a diamond. So how are you going? All right? Shall I finish? Shall I keep going? Keep going? Okay. Keep going. This one is face. This is about courage, but because it's called face, we could have called it courage. It's not courage or bravery. It's about facing, because facing is looking at yourself in the mirror. It's I want to see, what's going on in me, and I want to face that. And that takes time, and it takes a building up of techniques. Actually, there are techniques that you can build up to give you that kind of courage, but it's about facing. So stand firm against obstacles. That's the first thing. Recognize this as an obstacle. Here I have to hold myself together, get through it. And internal obstacles, which be old habits of thinking. So what you'll do is, what will happen is something comes up, you see something in front of you, you think in a critical way, and you don't feel as good as you did a little while ago. So the not feeling as good is a sign that you haven't gone a positive and a helpful route for yourself. The signals will be happiness or sorrow, satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Flat, down. Why do I feel flat? Just look about what you've been thinking of lately. You will feel flat. Is that okay? Did I explain that all right? So common. And then disheartenment. Wow, very dangerous. Disheartenment, that I should get disheartened with myself. This leads me on a track. Not so easy. Not so easy. And quite normal. But if you're aware, you've taken the first step to dealing with it. Just to raise your awareness. Wow, that's a feeling of disheartenment. If I go down that track, I'm really going to be sad at the end of the day. And recognize negatives, that's right, experience. And no's a complete sentence. You don't have to say, no, I don't want to do it because I've got to go out and I've made up my mind that I don't want to do it. And anyway, Johnny doesn't want me to do it because if I go home late, I won't be able to cook the meal. No, you can just say no. It's a complete sentence. Full stop. Anyway, never give up. That's the only failure. You give up. Never give up. Can you read it? It's a little bit hard. Obstacles don't have to stop you If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. Figure out, because we have tremendous wisdom and tremendous creativity. You'll have a solution. Be different from someone else's, but it will be there. Cooperate's quite good. This took quite a bit of cooperation from those two. I'd love to tell the story of Danny's experience with seagulls, but maybe not, huh? That was such a story of cooperation, huh? Do you want to hear it now? Yeah.
I don't even know. I want
Okay. Tell me if I've just taken creative license. But this is what I think the story was. It's near the foreshore in Fragston. There are some buildings on which the seagulls have nested for generations, a long time. Is this true? And the nestings are all in the drains. And so they have accumulated a lot of seagull stuff, collections, what seagulls collect and what seagulls drop. And so there was a big storm, and the rain was driving onto this drainage in a way that didn't usually drive onto that. So it was pretty ferocious. And of course it came down the wall inside offices. Inside. So it went into the offices, right? Yeah. So it was a weekend, and so someone was called to fix that up. So someone had to, the person who managed the office, and they had to bring some labourers in to clear it. But that's the story. It was a mess and had to be cleaned up. But what the seagulls did, because they were objecting strongly to this, do I go right through it, or is it all right? They were objecting strongly, so they were dive bombing everybody. Do you imagine? And there were quite a few of them. But what was so interesting was, over the next week, when the person who had organised the construction workers to come and clear the seagulls, every time that person came to work, the seagulls dive bombed that person. Everyone else came to work and they didn't. They dive bombed that person. And if that person, the construction worker who'd done the cleaning, if that person came as well, they dive bombed that person, and only that person. Now you think, what sort of cooperation had to happen for that to happen? You had to have a seagull on site, huh? Someone looking for that person to come, recognising that person. They'd have to comment on with one another, is that the one, that's the one? And then getting all the others together, okay gang, dive bomb that person. It was like this, raiding the larder. So, so cooperation, and again it's about spiritual cooperation, so it's about your thinking. What you are thinking, you're cooperative. Think about when you go to someone's party. It's a birthday party, and especially if it's a surprise one. You all arrive and it's fantastic. How good does that person feel because you're all feeling such good, having such good feelings for that person, yeah? So the effect of, like what we call good wishes, is quite powerful. So cooperate means giving without expectation. So you didn't want anything back. You didn't give it to get something back. Otherwise there won't be that satisfaction inside. These are the things that will trigger you to how it's going. Appreciate something about others. That's a nice thing to do, not so easy. So you might have to try, fake it for a while. Accept, encourage, appreciate others' spiritual journey. You know, not to be jealous of somebody else's advantage, or somebody else has got something, or somebody else is doing something, or somebody else has got a fantastic hairdo. You know, not to think, just not to be jealous and be thinking something nasty. Easy to do. See others' highest qualities rather than their lowest. Now you're getting the feeling that these are all goody-goody two-shoes things. You won't never be able to do them. Each of them is really something to get your head around, but they are methods that will increase your appreciation and your quality of experience of life, I guarantee. Offer thoughts of success to others. Do some congratulating. Not so easy either. Generate generous good feelings for others, whether friend or foe. That's something to try. Ooh. Maintain a positive attitude in the face of a perceived disaster. That's also a good thing to do. Dang, we're running out of time. Withdraw. Now, can you figure out what the illustration on the top right-hand corner is about disengaging? Yes. Ooh. See, that's good. You're all with it. It's a gear shift. So when you can get into a neutral headspace, you have really won a spiritual advantage. When you can approach something like that and then just see it and judge, accommodate, merge it all, you're really getting there. So stand back, learn to master your senses and incoming stimuli. That's what meditation will teach you. Be able to have some management over what you're seeing. Oh yeah, those people over there, they're talking about me. You know, you can't hear, but you're sure they are because of the way they're standing. They must be talking about me. So that's a perception, huh? So just know you're perceiving something that's probably not true. Of course it might be, then you have to deal with it. It's your personal power. Your ability to master your senses is a personal power. Enables you to observe in detachment. Someone was telling me that they live on their own, and it's given them such a sense of detachment because they have so much quiet. They're able to observe many things. They see things that they don't usually do when their lives are filled with having to entertain someone else they live with or other people they live with. So silence is really a very good training. All right, step back and leap further. That was a good one. Okay, summary. And I've got a copy of this if you want it. So just to summarize, pack up, past is past. Accommodate, accept the differences of people and situations. You know, move with it. Tolerate, remain positive, whatever. It doesn't mean put up with or become a doormat. Judge, weigh up the choices, discriminate, truth from falsehood. Yeah. Face, stand firm in the face of external or internal obstacles. Be firm in your values. Cooperate, give your specialties without recognition. Withdraw, disengage, both mentally and emotionally. And then the last one. When I tend to look at people's hearts rather than their faces, then I begin to really live. I really will know I've made some steps forward in living positively, living spiritually, positively by these principles. Okay, so are there any questions? Because our time's up. No? So just the last thing, meditation does give you so many skills. It gives you an ability to value yourself in a way that you probably haven't done before. And it's based on a process that's an act of human beings connecting with a supreme being when they come together in a way that they can't come separately. There are things you can't do on your own. So when in the meditation process, the meditation brings you together. Your energy and that supreme energy together enables you to gain. To have the skills to use the spiritual principles of positive thinking, then we need spiritual strength. And the spiritual strength that you need to be able to fulfill these things that you want to for your own quality of life, you need to access that pure energy for yourself. So there's a method that you can do that, just getting on that wavelength, but there's a process. It's not just a case like prayer or saying, oh God, help me. It's not. It's a process of aligning myself with what I want and being on that exact wavelength and then drawing that strength into me, so into my intellect. So then, like, that's an ocean of that particular quality. You're dealing with oceans. You're dealing with an ocean of energy, of peace, an ocean of love, an ocean of bliss, an ocean of happiness. Om Shanti. It's okay. So if there are no questions, I've beaten you all into silence, then we could have some meditation. What would you like to do? Have your meditation. And then if you wait until the meditation is finished, you get some tollies. So there's a biscuit, very nice biscuit. Not that you should. way, but it's just to let you know what the process or procedure is. All right? Okay. Then thank you for listening. Thank you for coming. It's so nice to see you all again. I'm going to go to another spot so that you can just have some visuals to look at, which are quite attractive. So it encourages you to keep your eyes open while we meditate.